Hello. So this is my food web slash food chains project for bio, and so this is, of course, the title slide. My name is Tristan Dean Akins. If you'll, there we go. What is a food chain? Overall, a food chain is what happens. My bad. Is what the whole process of life relies on. That's the wrong relies. Um, It's a linear turn of events that causes the total transfer of energy between creature and plants. So like, well, this diagram down here shows a leaf to a caterpillar to a chameleon down to a snake, and a mongoose eats the snake, and it shows that all the way from plant all the way to animal, finally to the predator, it transferred. Um, my bad. This is the video.
Are you a living thing? If you are, we should totally talk because we have a lot in common. In fact, you and I both have a lot in common with all living things. Your teacher, trees, your pet parakeet, bumblebees, everything. And one of the most important things is we all eat. Everyone needs food, which is why one of the best ways to learn about life on Earth is to follow the food. See where it comes from and where it goes, while living things are eating and being eaten. So here are the basics about the flow of food and the energy it contains, making life possible. Let's start with a simple question. Why do we have to eat in the first place? We all eat, right? But have you ever wondered why we eat? I mean, some animals only eat plants, others just eat other animals, and some creatures eat both plants and meat. But the thing is, all animals, including humans, eat. And we don't just eat because we're hungry or bored or tired or it tastes good. Although I could really go for a slice of pizza right now. We eat because we need food to live. More exactly, we need the energy that food gives our bodies to grow, move, and stay warm. You've probably figured this out already from the things you've heard about how and when we eat. Like, you've probably heard that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Or you might know that runners will carb load before a big race. But food is necessary for all. Not everybody likes the same kind of food, right? That's probably a good thing. I mean, all the more pizza for me. But whether we eat milkshakes or mangoes, pizzas or pears, tacos or toast, we use the energy that's in our food to stay alive. But how did that energy get into our food in the first place? The answer is that energy flows between living things. It's almost like each form of food is a link in a chain. A food chain. You might have heard that humans are on the top of the food chain because we eat pretty much everything, and except for the occasional video game monster and maybe the odd bear, nothing tries to eat us. But what is a food chain exactly? A food chain is a model that shows how energy flows between living things. You can think of animals and plants in the same food chain as all living in the same neighborhood, which scientists call a habitat. And they all have a job to do, interacting with each other day in and day out. Together, they form a kind of system, a self-contained collection of different things that all work together as a whole. And they also interact with the non-living stuff around them, like the water, the air, the ground, and the sun. Put it all together, and what do you get? A special system called an ecosystem. And food chains show us what eats what in an ecosystem. Now, everything that's alive is in a food chain, including you, my friend. And actually, most living things are in more than one food chain, depending on what or who they're munching on at the moment. I mean, you don't eat the same thing for dinner every night, do you? Didn't think so. Now, let's see how a food chain works by making a diagram of how these interactions happen in nature. First, all of the energy that's in a food chain starts with the sun. I can't stress that enough, people. Plants take the energy from the sun's rays and change it into chemical energy. So when a nice patch of lush green grass starts to grow, it's capturing some of the energy from the sun to do it. Then when an animal, like a rabbit, wanders by and nibbles on that grass, the energy from the plant is transferred into the rabbit's body. Now, if a hungry hawk decides that the rabbit would make a yummy supper, then the energy from the rabbit is transferred to the hawk. And in this ecosystem, nothing is large or brave enough to take on the hawk. I mean, just look at her. So we've hit the top of the food chain, and we've just made a nifty model of it. So, a food chain is a model that shows how energy flows between living things in an ecosystem. Energy in a food chain starts with the sun, which is turned into chemical energy by plants. And this energy moves up the food chain as animals eat the plants, and then other animals eat those animals. And speaking of energy, I'm starving, so I'm off to take my place in the food chain. See you next time. So, a food chain is really a model of how energy flows among living things in an ecosystem. But in
Okay. There you go. So that was the video. These are my final thoughts. Overall, I feel like the food chain is one of the most important parts of life because it shows on how creatures live. Same with plants. It also shows on how everything sort of needs each other for total survival. So the way how, well, as this diagram on the left shows, the producer goes from the to the primary consumer, secondary consumer, and then finally, I don't know how to say that, tertiary consumer. Overall, it just goes from consumer, all the way back to one singular producer. So, it's pretty interesting how that all works. Well, that's it. Bye.